and GSP. Tell us where you are right now, mentally speaking, knowing that your return to the octagon is just around the corner finally.
Yeah, I'm 100%, and I can't wait. Very anxious to be back.
George, when you look back at the last 19 months, and I always ask this to individuals, and unfortunately it's becoming very common in the sport of MMA where injuries are becoming a much larger issue, that I always try to look at the silver lining around the cloud, and I know you are also that kind of individual who tries to put a positive on everything. What has the biggest positive been in regards to how this injury has allowed you to maybe strengthen other parts of your life and your core?
Well, it helped me fix a lot of my personal life, a lot of my training life, and now I'm happy again, and I feel like I'm more happy than I ever was, and more hungry to be back.
Can you talk a little bit about those changes, specifically maybe when it comes to training and the way you approach, the way you prepare for a fight?
Well, just one thing, for example, very simple. I move. I used to drive like 40 minutes back and forth to go to the gym, and I train twice a day, all the time. So now by moving closer to the gym in a better and more comfortable place, I have much more time to recuperate between training, and it's gonna make a big difference.
When it comes to your residence, George, what kind of furnishings are we talking about? You seem like a very cultured individual, and I know you love to travel, and you're a very voracious reader. When it comes to the personality of your home, can you give us an example of what you like?
Well, I'm a country guy, and I never lived in the city before, but now I have to make a move. I have to go and live in the city. It's going to be near the gym, and it's going to make it easier for me for my traveling. I'm going to have more free time, more recuperation.
Well, when you talk about the biggest change being the distance closer to the gym, I've had a lot of conversations with your trainer, Firas Zahabi, in talking about the way that he evolves his approach to training and maybe the danger for some in the sport still of overtraining or maybe not training the way you could at the highest level. And he mentioned something known as prehab, which is, of course, the opposite of rehab. He looks to prepare you to not get injured using the pool, and I know you've done a lot of other things like gymnastics. Can you talk a little bit about your training regimen and how that evolves to make it safer?
Yeah, but when you say overtraining, it's not only physical, it's also mental. And I had a lot of things in my mind, and a lot of things happened in my life. So now all those things are clear, and also I can focus only on the things that I'm doing in fighting. So I try to not deal with all the how do you say this, the so-called bullshit stuff on the side. I try to only focus on the main thing right now, especially when I'm getting close to a fight, and the rest I'll deal with it after or before.
Do you still work with a sports psychologist, George?
Yeah, but I see sometimes the guy, but it's mostly the way I schedule my life, my training, and also my routine, my schedule. I make it more simple and more efficient.
When you look at Carlos Condit, who is your opponent on November 17th, what intrigues you most about him as a fighter? Are you a fan of his style? Talk a little bit about Carlos Condit.
Well, I think his biggest strength is he's a very well-rounded fighter, and that's why he's so dangerous, and he adjusts himself very well.
In terms of the opponents that you have faced and being the top dog at 170 pounds, how do you place him? Is this, every fight I guess is the toughest fight, but where do you put Carlos Condit in terms of the level of opponent you've already faced?
Well, he's the top guy for sure. More well-rounded and more dangerous in every phase of the fight. You don't know what is coming, if it's a knee or a punch, or and he's very long too. He's got a great reach, and he's very athletic.
You, of course, have had affiliations with Team Jackson Winklejohn, his camp in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Have you ever crossed paths with Carlos in a training situation? Have you guys ever sparred or rolled around?
No, we never trained together, and we trained with the same training partner, but we never worked out together.
And George, in terms of everything you want to accomplish because of the long layoff and the fact that you are one of the most popular and the biggest draws in the sport, and you feel in talking to you now that you really have attempted to simplify everything and bring it back down to its basic level. What are your goals on November 17th?
Well, my goal is to be world champion, and I'm ready to fight the best of my ability. I know the best man will win, and I'm going to do everything. I'm going to give it all, and the outcome will take care of itself.
Have we seen what you perceive to be the best that you can be, or have you had breakthroughs even in this layoff? The fact that just because you are the champion in a sport where, the next generation is going to be full of, perceived GSPs, as it were, do you feel that you've taken it to the next level, and if so, how so?
Oh yeah, I feel much better than I was, and you'll see when I get back. I'm a much better martial artist than I was before.
Does that involve aggression? And you know where I might be going with that, George, the fact that you have been so dominant, and the fact that, barring even the injury, there was always the talk, well, is GSP the kind of fighter that he can be like he was earlier, exciting standpoint? What do you say about that now at this stage of the game getting back closer? Are you changing your style at all?
Yeah, I listen to the critic, a lot of critics say that I didn't finish the fight, I win by decision. But I'm a very proud athlete. I listen to the critic, and the critic helped me to make myself better. So, of course, I want to become more opportunist and give it more for the fan and for myself as well,
The more successful you get, the more scrutiny you're going to get, George, and you call them critics. Well, your peer, John Bones Jones, has had his fair share of criticism, and I'm wondering, George, the first time we've had a chance to talk in a while, what did you think of the whole UFC 151 situation and the way it was handled on both sides?
I did not follow the whole saga. I can't really. I've heard stuff in the gym and people talking, but I don't go on the internet and I don't follow the whole thing, And is
that by design, just because you don't have any interest in reading, the drama, the hype, or is it timing issues?
I focus only on myself. I don't really focus on other people's life, because a lot of things sometimes that people don't know about an athlete. There's a lot of things in his life sometimes you don't know, and the real reason maybe is not what it's shown, and it's very complicated sometimes. So you never know what's gonna happen deep down inside. If you dig a little bit, you may find out something else. So who knows? Like I don't know what went down in that particular case, but that's why I don't pay attention to these things. Sometimes you don't know what's going on.
Well, you bring up a great point, and I think everyone is entitled, as human beings, to their privacy. And obviously, as a high-profile athlete like yourself, I guess it gets more and more difficult to do that. But I know you love to travel. Did you get a chance to do a lot of traveling during your recovery period?
Well, the truth, I was focusing mostly on rehab and coming back as fast as I can. So. Not too much.
So you didn't take any time off to go and just, maybe get away from everything in order to fully get prepared and recharge the old battery, as they say?
Yeah, we went on vacation a little bit, and with a bunch of friends, We had a lot of time, a very good time, and now it's time to be back and work. But it was not long. It was only a few days, and not even a week. Now I'm back in the gym training, and it was a very refreshing and a lot of fun time, but now it's time to be back in the gym.
And when you get back in the gym, as you have been in the recovery period, are you satisfied at the time that it took you to recover? I know there's a danger, especially with a competitor like yourself. You probably want to, get better much sooner. How was the process, and how much of a toll did it take on you mentally, George?
Well, it was a tough process, but I'm gonna be happy to that I did everything well, and I wanted to say thanks to the UFC because they really took care of me very well, and in that thing when it happened, they really treat me like a king. And I know a lot of organization and a lot of sport, they don't treat their athlete with as much importance. And for me, they really treat me. Everything was well taken care. All the logistic, everything, the doctor, everything was taken care, and it was incredibly done. I had the best doctor, the best rehab, the best place to stay. Everything was amazing. So I really, if I'm here today and I'm getting back to fight, and I'm better than I was before, it's because of the UFC. They really took care of me.
All right, and on that note, George, with all of the injuries that are happening, and I know you're only focused on your career and may not even know about all the injuries recently, but obviously it's a part of the sport. But do you think, and we've talked about it a little bit, and I've talked with Firas, that it does come down to the training, or is it just bad luck? Is it just one of those things that's always going to happen in terms of this rash?
I think it's both. I think it's both.
And talk a little bit more of why you think it's both. Like in terms of training, what can be done?
Is more competition in the gym, and people need to slow down and realize that training is training. It's not a fight.
Well, it's funny, George, because you hear the old saying, the hard part is in the gym. The big fight's in the gym, and then the easy part is the actual fight. Does that have to be reassessed to a degree, and maybe not as intense or not as tough inside the gymnasium? Because if you don't fight, you don't get paid.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be reassessed now.
Well,
you should train hard, but there is a limit, Not train smart.
Well, I really appreciate your time, George. And you know what? I know there's going to be the 1 or 2 or 100 people out there who go, how come you didn't ask him about the super fight with Anderson Silva? Well, George, I know you face Carlos Condit November 17th, but if you want, and I already kind of know the answer, but really, what is your take on this talk of a super fight with Anderson Silva when you got to fight November 17th?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't see the point for people talking about that. For me, it's too far away, and I'm focusing on the main thing. The main thing is Carlos Condit.
All right, well, last question then in regards to that. Is a fight with Anderson Silva something that you have dreamed of, George? What I mean is it something that you feel you have to have happen in order for your career to be the way you want it to be, or is that something more for the fans, the media, and the promoters to worry about?
Well, put it this way, if I go to 185 pound, I will stay at 185. I don't know right now. I'm going step by step.
So for now, obviously, Carlos Condit is the big target, but you're saying if. So if and when you move to middleweight, you will never come back to 170. You will stay there.
Yeah, if I have to go up in the weight class, I'm not going to go back down. I'm going to stay up.
And
I don't want to be like Roy Jones,
Right.
Like,
no,
Roy Jones, he went up, and when he came back down, he had a problem. Don't want this happening to me.
All right. Well, George, I do appreciate this. I know a lot of fans cannot wait, and maybe quickly just a shout out to the fans and what this means to you, because it's been a long time. 19 months since you were in the octagon. You're going to be back in the cage in Montreal, in your hometown for UFC 154 against a tough opponent in Carlos Condit. Give a quick message to the fans listening on why they should be there in person or watching on pay-per-view.
Yeah, but I want to say thank you for the support, and I'll be back stronger, faster, better than ever. So be there at November 17th, Montreal.
UFC welterweight champion George St. Pierre joining us here on the MMA Show podcast. Merci beaucoup, George, and bonne chance November 17th.
Merci, thank you.